This is Keyed In with Max and Brent, unlocking the minds of the industry's top real estate professionals. And now, here are your hosts, Max Rabin and Brent Jackson.
Hey everybody, welcome to Keyed In Podcast. I'm Max Rabin.
And I'm Brent Jackson.
So today we have our first repeat guest, Brent.
Exciting.
It's Leslie Backoff Snider, and she was on the show. She was one of our first guests, and she was just getting into real estate. It was during like the height of the pandemic, I guess, and like a lot of other people during the pandemic, she made a big career shift. She shifted from hospitality into real estate. Now she's working with your team, one of the top selling teams in the city. So we wanted to check in with her and see how that first year was going. So welcome back, Leslie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
So, I mean, how is it going? I mean, do you want to talk like how your numbers have been? Like, you want to start off and let us know like how that first year went?
Sure. I mean, it was a great first year. I believe so. I hope that Brent thinks the same way.
Yeah, what do you think?
I'm objective, right?
Yeah.
I look only at numbers. She had her numbers, and you can share your numbers with the audience, but I think you got very close to your numbers. You can roll into your sophomore year, which you're starting right now. But no, she did a really, really well job. Comes from a corporate background. She knows the global branding of Sotheby's, and she did a really good job, really good personality out on the street.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, as far as the numbers go, I did a total of 24 transactions in 2021. And basically that was from about April to obviously end of the year. So those do include rentals. So I know that, some don't always think of rentals as, that valuable, but definitely starting out, it was a great way to get my feet wet and, learn the business. So 24 transactions, which came to right about $3 million in sales in 2021.
What was your goal for 21?
I had made a goal of $5 million. So I didn't hit fully the goal, but, was happy with how I ended up, made some really great connections. Obviously was a part of a great team. I'm still a part of a great team, but
this isn't paid for advertising.
Yeah, no, this isn't. I promise.
So of the 21 deals, or of the 24 deals, how many were actually buying or selling versus rentals?
Yeah, so I don't have the specific amount, but I would say, so basically it was probably about half and half. Okay. So definitely half on the buyer or seller side, and then half were mostly a rental, or I was also working with some of the agents on our team, Robin specifically as a mentor, so I would help him with some deals as well.
Okay. So were these all buyer deals, or do you have any listings mixed in?
Yeah, so I had some listings and then some buyers, more heavily on the buyer side, but I did have a few listings as well at the in 2021. Mm-hmm. Those being some Sphere. I had a friend selling their condo, so that was one of my first deals that I did. And then another was a listing that I met through an open house. So I was able to get my feet wet in basically all aspects.
So your first deal last year when we interviewed you, I think there was nothing sold on the books.
Correct.
So can you walk us through your very first deal, what it was, where it came from?
Sure. So my first client, we closed, it was a buyer, closed that, it was actually July 1st of 2021. So it did take, I guess that's about 3 months basically, to get my first transaction done. So it was a buyer. She bought a $250,000 condo in Brightwood Park. I had met her through an agent referral. So a TTR agent, Stephen Lasik, who he kind of has gone more towards like Delaware and is doing Airbnb sales now, really crushing it there. Wow. It was actually funny how I got connected with her. I think it was like a Wednesday or Thursday evening. I get a phone call at like 7:00 from Rob, and he was like, "Hey, would you be available to meet this person?" 7 p.m. And so I'm like changed in, my sweats or whatever, sitting on the couch, and I was like, sure, why not? So, race up, had like 15 minutes to get to this condo, showed her, met the client there. She didn't end up liking that unit specifically, but, just started the rapport from her there and then started showing her some things. And we found a great unit for her and, within the budget, and we were able to close the deal.
Impressive.
So you're willing to hustle.
Exactly.
Like, do you want to go show this right now at 7 o'clock? You're in your sweats. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to have to get up and do this. Right?
Yeah, well, exactly. It was like, well, if I don't, what you don't make money.
That's
kind of how you have to do it. So
indeed.
Yeah.
So okay, what are some of the biggest challenges that you may have expected or didn't, or expected or didn't expect going into this first year? Like, what are you finding about the business that's the most challenging?
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of have two buckets of challenges. You have like the fundamental challenges of real estate, like getting clients, getting deals done, in a multiple offer situation, getting your offer selected. But then there's definitely the like mental challenges as well. I mean, this is the most stressful job that I've ever had. I don't know if I should say that or not, but just kind of,
it is stressful.
Peeling back the layers. It's a really stressful job, but also there's a lot of benefits to the job as well. So I think that that's kind of one of the biggest challenges personally that I've had to deal with, is just like being able to manage the stress and anxiety that comes with the role. Everything from like kind of, how I even got the first deal, of like being able to just at the drop of a hat go and show a property, or like basically always being somehow connected to your phone because there could be a phone call, a phone call from a client or a new client, or, something always happening. So that's definitely like one of the biggest challenges that I've had to face, is just how to deal with the stress and kind of then the ups and downs that come with this industry as well.
Well, my thinking is as much as it is the timing and being on call and handling things at hours when you would otherwise just it's hard to tell when your up and down time's going to be, right?
Right.
That can be stressful. But what about these conversations you're having? It's still very much a new business to you. Buyers and sellers have very specific questions about how this is going to go.
Yeah.
Like, how are you fielding these things? Are you like leaning on your team a little bit when you get to the challenging moments? And
yeah, that's a great point as well. I mean, I obviously every client, I want them to think I've been in the industry for 20 years, but they know that I'm not. But it is something that you have to deal with, of just either seeming confident and kind of making up an answer at the seat of your pants, or not that I do that often, but
I'm curious, like, how does that play out?
Yeah, like, I mean, sometimes you have to like, kind of circle around the question. And then there is other times where it's like, that is an excellent question, and I will, take that and, ask a teammate. Or a lot of times those things kind of like come up at an open house, maybe, where it's like, I don't necessarily know the specific question that they're asking about like a property. And so that's when it's a great time to like create rapport with the person and say, hey, I don't know that answer right now, but let me get your contact info, your email address, and I will ask the seller and then get back to you. And obviously that can, then lead to more and more conversations with that client. But yeah, I think just, a lot of times people do have the grace too of knowing that, I am newer to the industry, and, it shows off then when you can get the answer and come back with a really solid response and then move on from there. And
of course, I mean, we're even more experienced agents. There are always new things that are coming up that someone like Brent or myself were like, did not ever hear that one before.
For sure.
That's a first.
And
usually funny? For me, it's like, it's either I need to go to a trusted vendor, a home inspector, or a lot of times now it's like, it's so technical difficult.
Yeah.
It's something with the language in the contract, and I need to go to an attorney.
Right.
And those are the questions that I don't want to, I'm not practicing law out here. Let me call a litigator or a title attorney to answer the question. That's my biggest gripe right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that was kind of something that I was learning early on, was that people would have a lot of questions, and sometimes it would be like a question that was very much an inspector you needed to get involved, or a lender, or something like that. And it's just very easily to say like, hey, that is not my route, that is not my sphere, and these are the people to reach out to.
Yeah,
that's smart.
That's the best thing to do. And even as you become more experienced, there are things that you will learn, obviously, by being in and out of so many different types of properties, things to look for, especially about condition items. You'll start to know these things backwards and forwards, but it's still not always comfortable just to speak directly on them, because
then they come back to you and
right
say, you
They're
told
like,
me to
wait
buy
a
this
minute.
house.
I'm really good at I'm really good at prefacing everything I say. Now, I say that I am not a roofer.
Right.
You know?
Yes, I do the same. Here's my disclaimer.
Yeah. Fully disclaimed. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And now I will speak.
I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night, but
Exactly.
this is how it goes.
Very much,
Right.
yeah.
So last episode, you mentioned you were starting to get into open houses. You enjoyed them. That's also, as Max alluded to, the height of the pandemic. You know, for a little bit, we couldn't do them. Then you had to do them with masks. You had to have like people outside, only 2 people in at a time. So over the course of the past year, that has changed. Especially with the market being as crazy, sometimes you'll go into an open house and there's like 100 people in there. So how's that experience been with you?
Yeah, I mean, I continue to enjoy doing open houses. It's been, definitely, I agree. It's kind of had this shift of, I think when I first started, we could fully do open houses without masks. And then it was like 2 months in, we had to go back to masks. And so it's kind of, been this dance in a way. And now we're, unmasked again, which has been good. But no, I mean, I really love doing the open houses. I went from, doing just like a little like electronic sign-in sheet to now I really love to to get people's information just via a good old standard card. And I feel that that's like a great way to start talking with the client or the potential clients or the, people that are seeing the house. They, write down their names, information, if they're working with an agent or not. And it just lets you kind of know how to, best work with this person as they tour the home. But yeah, I mean, my way that I do an open house is just kind of, standing in the middle, making sure everyone's greeted as they walk in, they sign in, and just, kind of also taking an approach where I, feed off of their energy. So some people are walking in and it's clear that they like do not want to talk to you. And you're just like, okay, great. Enjoy. Let me know if you have questions. There's others that walk in and have so many questions and it's like, awesome. This is a person that I want to, spend more time talking with and, building a rapport with to maybe make them a potential client.
So aside from standing and like feeling the energy, are you forcing people to sign, like every person to come in? And then is there any like secrets you can talk about? Like do you have swag or printouts or brochures that you're giving to people?
I do ask everyone to sign in. I'm not like going to force them to sign in. I mean, I don't think that that's the appropriate way to go.
It's always been a really tough part of the practice of doing the open house. There's some agents that are, I've watched some agents that are awesome at it.
Yes.
I've never been that awesome at it.
Yeah.
I first ask if they're working with an agent. If I can get the agent name, that's a first easy follow-up shot. But getting people to sign in has always been really tricky.
Well, it depends on the motive too, right? Like I think as a newer agent, you're going after buyers. For me, like I have zero desire to connect with a buyer at an open house. Like my job is to sell the house and to present myself to potential sellers coming through the house. So, everyone has a different motive in the open house.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, continue.
No. Yeah, I think definitely I typically look at an open house as a way to find a buyer. Sometimes sellers as well, if it's a neighbor or someone that comes in. I think definitely it's to answer your question about like how I do it, I typically just say like the seller really wants to know who's coming through. So please, even if it's just your name and phone number, like I don't have to contact you, but at least, we have that record. But I think also, and this is actually something that I took from Brent, he was really, he mentioned that it's great to know the neighborhood, know the comps, what's just sold. And so that's definitely, I always do my research. It's not something where I'm just like 15 minutes before looking on Bright, but it's like a day before or, if I know ahead of time that I'm doing that open house. And that way I feel really knowledgeable about the market, about the neighborhood. And that way it's just a better way to really like share your knowledge.
Absolutely.
And that's definitely a way that I've picked up a few buyers is just by, being able to discuss what else maybe is also coming on the market in that neighborhood if this home isn't for them.
The old school, some of the old school agents, one thing that they always would do is print out the recent comps, like the most recent stuff on like a gallery, the MLS listing, and have it highlighted. And it's just sort of out there because then it's a talking point for engaging people. Yeah. Because especially with the potential neighbors too, because they're going to know what the other sales are and you better have that information. Like, oh yes, of course, this one,
a few of them I've done like a printout. And again, I have to give credit to Brent for telling me to do this, but it's like, my headshot, my contact information, the stuff like the information about that property specific, and then the second page is like the comps that are sold in the neighborhood and potentially what's also coming.
You guys are way ahead of me.
We're crushing it out there.
Yeah. You guys are the whole thing down. You train them up.
We're always hiring, Mac.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Hey, well,
we can give you our template.
Yes.
All right. So back to working with some buyers. Obviously, the last year has been probably the most aggressive market ever in terms of multiple offers, low inventory. So, as a newer agent, have you definitely run into this situation, right?
I have. I've definitely run into multiple offer situations, but I think actually, listening to podcasts with Ann Savage and Nate Guggenheim, they were saying that it's like, what market? So, the market that I'm dealing with is a lot of times first-time home buyers looking for maybe a one-bedroom condo. And that's a little less competitive than, say, your single-family home, in Upper Northwest that's going to have 20 offers. So, I'm definitely working though in a little bit of both spaces, but I would say for kind of the first few transactions, it was a little less of that, like super competitive. Sometimes it was like one other offer or, a couple, but there have been a few multiple offer situations, and more recently, definitely this year too.
Can you tell us about, going into the dirty details, like a success story for multiple offers and like why you won, and then also maybe a failure, like why was it something you did, or maybe the buyer just couldn't match the terms of someone else, but a success and a failure in a multiple offer situation?
Sure. I will start with the success, start on a high note. Actually a recent deal that just closed early May. So it was a multiple offer situation in the Palisades, and it was new, construction home or, redeveloped home. It had 3 offers. We won. I do have to give credit so much to our group and having a rapport with actually the developer as well. We were able to waive all contingencies, do a 10-day close, and they were able to go the highest as far as price. But, because we had the relationship with the selling agent and the developers as well, they knew, to kind of come back to us and say, hey, could you do this? Sure. And so that was, just obviously solidified to me how great it is to be, in a very, well-known company with a really great team, and how that relationships really matter.
Yep.
A side note here, this is a true story. I think it was like the day after ratification, we all went out on tour as a group, and we saw the developer at a property just like randomly, like, who is he talking to? And then there's a car parked in the middle of the road with the doors wide open. We're like, what in the world is going on? Yeah. It's like she jumped out of the car and ran over to the developer like, hey, we're going to get this thing ratified, right? I mean, it was funny. Her car was like wide open in the middle of the street.
This?
Yes.
I did. Well, it looked like that for sure, and it kind of was that, but I was also putting something from my driver's side into the trunk of my car, and then I saw him. So I can justify it, but definitely it looked really bad.
Car's going down the street. Yeah. She's running out.
Still running. Yeah. But we got it done. So however that had to happen.
So that was I believe like an upper ones deal.
Correct. Yeah. 1.82.
Yeah. So where were those clients from?
They were from an open house. I actually had met them in January of this year. They, were really early on in their search. She was showing me her phone that had like all of the like Redfin listings that she had saved. So I was like, boom, like this is us. I was able to, we were in a house that had a lot of the aesthetic that she liked. So I was able to, then talk about, and it ended up being this developer that then she ended up buying the house from. But, it was very much their aesthetic. So I was like, okay, we've got this one coming soon, this one. So she was just really into the fact that I knew, what deals were coming next. Yeah. They were not first-time home buyers, so they knew that was obviously a really big plus to work with someone that kind of could have the upper hand early on.
Sure. And were they from DC, or were they coming from out of town?
They were living in DC.
Got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
So I think that's key, right? It's having the inside knowledge, because otherwise you're just another
Mhm.
agent if you're sending them the MLS. I
Right.
mean, you can spin and say you're paid to negotiate. They're going to find a house.
Yeah.
I can find some off-market listings for you, but I'm going to get you the best deal. But it's very smart that you're able to stay on top of them for 4 months,
Yeah.
just sending them off-market deals that nobody else had access to.
Exactly. I think that definitely put it over the edge. I mean, the deal that they ended up closing, and the house they bought, they just ended up walking into the open house, so it wasn't off market, but it definitely helped that we had already created that relationship.
Right.
And
So you're working with the Rob and Brent group. So a lot of your marketing and planning around how that business is going to go is helped by the group, which is fantastic. But on your own, you're also building this sphere, this network of people. How are you reaching out to people on your own? What are you doing to make sure to stay in solid contact with people, follow up with people? What kind of personal marketing are you doing?
Sure. So I am doing postcards. I send at least 2 a month to my neighborhood, which is Bloomingdale. So I have my pocket of people, and then I send something more general if it has to be like a closing that I've had or something like that. So spending about at least $500 a month on postcards specifically. And then I think, social media is an incredible way for me, especially to get out to my sphere and potentially, other clients out there in DC, still using TikTok, and then Instagram as well.
Yeah,
LinkedIn.
It's since you were on the show the first time, as you can see, as predicted by Maxwell Raven.
Yes, we do have to.
TikTok and real estate. I mean, it's exploded.
It really
Everyone
has.
and their cousin is now doing TikTok, which was obvious. I mean, it's pretty obvious it's going to happen. So, but all I can say about that is just keep plugging away. Even if the space gets more crowded, it's a sort of necessary evil part of our business now. As long as you have some of the experience and knowledge and tools of how to use those things and do the video, that's really where we're at right now with marketing. So whether it's like you doing it for yourself or the team's doing it, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
So you started right as soon as we had those conversations, you started putting videos together and getting them out there. You're doing the voiceover too, because you have a great voice, which is awesome. So you just got to keep doing it. That's
Have you
all
had
I can
anything
say.
go viral?
So literally after our first conversation last year, I think it was that weekend that I put one, and it got picked up by Washingtonian problems, and so they're always funny. I know you get picked up quite often by them, so it's are they making fun of me, or are they but whatever, it doesn't matter, it's views.
They're definitely they're I don't know them yet. I haven't met them. Mark Wellborn said he would introduce us, but
cool.
it hasn't happened yet. But yes, of course, it's a little
it's
cheeky,
cheeky, exactly,
right?
Yeah,
but
people view it and
really
then
look at it.
I mean it's just great publicity. So I had that one, and then but I mean more recently, as I definitely with TikTok, it is just the more you post, the more that algorithm's gonna shoot your videos out there. So I've been trying to do at least one a day. I definitely am not at one a day yet, but
I've lost my pace. It's if I don't have
you
content,
were doing
I was doing a lot.
3 a day.
Oh, I was
3. Whoa.
Yeah. Sometimes, guys, you wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you're like, I'm not TikToking today. And if you don't have anything in the pipeline ready to go, it's just,
it's hard.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I think benefiting from a group where we have, a new, we have content there. I'll be like, Brent, can I go video this house? And he's like, sure.
Yeah.
So, so I mean, more recently, I had one that's gotten close to 10,000 views, which it will be my my highest amount viewed. So,
what is that one like? Can you tell us what
it
that
was?
is?
Oh my gosh, which one was that? It was the penthouse on 1419 10th Street. So just a really unique property, and beautiful. I think anything that's just eye candy definitely gets the most views. So
I think it was the view, the space itself, not something that you've hashtagged in there, or the music, or.
Well, definitely. I mean, it's always good to use one of the most trending songs. So I think I used the new Lizzo About Damn Time or song, whatever that is. So
If you're just flipping through the
Right.
podcast and you just started at this point, we're talking about TikTok and how to make more effective TikToks.
Lizzo.
And let me say that there is no like hard written rule. They're constantly modifying the algorithm and what works. The key is though consistency in posting.
Yes.
Because they want you to be on the app.
Right.
And they want everyone else to be on their
Right.
app. So the more you do it and use their tools, the more likely you are to get that
Exactly.
big hit.
And I follow a few of the like I guess they're TikTok influencers that talk about how to get your TikToks going viral. And so I think that they have, they've said like post it and then close the app. Because
I've heard that one, yes.
they want like TikTok wants you to come back, and continue checking. So I don't know,
maybe.
but it sometimes works. I come back and I'm like, oh, that was 1,000 views. So,
yeah. It is nice though when you close it, come back, and you've got a bunch of notifications.
Right.
That's a dopamine hit that we always
For
love.
sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So Max has people all over the city saying, "Oh my God, you're Max Rabin from TikTok." Have you had anything like that as far as like?
I've had like one or two people or like friends of friends be like, "Oh, I saw you on TikTok," but I'm not yet getting like pictures.
Have you done any face up stuff on there?
A couple, but I'm very like it's still a little intimidating for me. But I should probably. I did like a few day in the lives that get a good amount of views, and I'll like flip the camera around and talk to it. So
those are great. Also, just responding to comments with a video of yourself.
Oh yeah,
that's so easy,
right?
Because you can just be sort of even off the cuff, and just do something really quick. And there's a new post. There's a face up.
For sure.
People will recognize you. Yeah.
So
as a thought, I keep pushing you.
Exactly.
Every time I see you, it's like here's another thing you can do.
It's good. I need tips. I need more content. Yeah.
So 2021 finished up. You had 24 deals. You're still churning along here. What about 2022? What are your goals like for the rest of this year?
Yeah, so 2022 has been off to a really good start. So my goal based off of what I did in 2021 was basically to double what I did in 2021. So my goal for 2022 was to do 6 million. I'm actually right under 5 million at the May,
I think you're over 5. Like you're just over 5.
Okay.
Or you're like right there.
Yeah.
So it's like,
it's like I'll take that. Yeah. So basically, as Brent just said, I'm pretty much tracking to do much more than 6 million. So we did just adjust my goal to 10 million for 2022. So I've done 19 transactions so far. And
in 2022.
In 2022.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah. Again, that includes rentals, which I still very much enjoy doing, and it's been a great way actually to get potential buying clients but mostly buyers for the future. I'm working actually with someone right now. It was a renter. I helped find her an apartment last July, and now she reached out. She's like, "Hey, my dad's selling a place in Miami and he wants to use that money to buy me a place in DC." So I'm like, perfect. Let's go see some places. So,
this is always interesting to me. It's like, what's more important to the agent? Is it the dollar volume? Like you're trying to hit 6 million, 10 million, 20 million, or do you have a unit count? Like you'd like to do, 24 deals in 21 and 19 so far in 22 is a lot. Do you have 50 is more important to you? So is it the unit or the volume?
I think for me right now, it's the volume. It's hitting the number of now the 10 million. And if that is, doing 40 transactions or if that's doing 10 transactions, doesn't really matter to me. I think I'm still at the thought of like, that probably means that I'm doing a lot of transactions to get to that number because the average price point that I'm working with is still closer to like 500,000 rather than 2 million.
Right. So. I always look at like the units because to me, I think if you can hit your unit number, like your dollar volume will continually grow. But like if you're counting the rentals, as you just alluded to, like that person knows like 5 other people. So you might get a buyer or seller from that person. Yeah. And the more lives you touch, the more business you're going to get down the road. And that person could turn into a buyer, 2-3 years after the rents.
For sure. I think it's so important right now, just like the number of people that I can touch. So be it if I'm doing, either one side of a rental, which maybe isn't a ton of money, but at the same time, like who cares? It's just, meeting people because, I'm planning to be in this industry for a long time. So, they'll continuously turn into buyers.
I was thinking about an old school broker who's no longer in the business. He was retired, but I remember something he told me when I was a young agent. He was telling me he was always looking to list one and sell one per week. That was his just general goal, whatever it was. Take in one listing and get one thing under contract every week.
So roughly 50 deals.
Yeah. And it sounds like, okay, I mean, we know how fast time goes by and you're like, oh, I haven't sold anything in 2 weeks or whatever. But I always thought that was an interesting way to look at it. And that's more going on the unit side.
Yeah. Right. So I guess for us, because we have a monthly meeting the first Wednesday of every month, and like my biggest ticker, as Leslie knows, it's like I want 4 listings a month, which equates to 1 a week. Everything else in the world would work out on the back end if I can get 4 signed listings a month.
Yeah,
that's the goal.
Yep.
Do you have a CRM that you're using?
So that's definitely something that I need to work on. I started using Follow Up Boss a little bit in the beginning. Didn't like that fully, so really went more to like just utilizing Outlook. I love Outlook. I think I think it's a love-hate thing with some people, but I think it's just a great way to kind of like obviously plan my day and like put who I want to follow up with that day. So that's what I've been using primarily. I definitely down the line hope using like Salesforce or something else could be helpful, but at this point it's really just in my Outlook calendar.
Yeah. As long as you're using something. What's that saying? It's like the best CRM that you're going to use is the one that you use.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, but the Outlook, so how does that work? If you get somebody at the open house, like the client you just mentioned, so you put them in your Outlook to follow up with them the next day or the next week?
Exactly. So I just like anytime I email them, I just basically then like put a note or I basically make an appointment, but it's just like, 8 a.m. On
email this person.
This person.
So are you able to, I haven't really like used Outlook for that kind of purpose, but do you have like tags for your different contacts?
I don't. I just have folders for everyone.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's just.
I mean, it's a little rudimental, so I don't think it'll necessarily work that well in the long run.
It's not as rudimentary as you think. Yeah. It's just another way to organize things, and everyone has their own way of looking at this stuff. And I've definitely used so many different things over the years. I'm still just using a regular spreadsheet for some of the tracking stuff, but yeah, we started using Follow Up Boss, and I'm sure we're not using it to anywhere near its full potential. But we have a couple lead sources where it's like, if you don't have a CRM like that, where you can really like task things like hardcore, then people just get lost, and you'll forget about them within a few days, and that lead is history. So if you want to make sure you're going to really track those leads, you need a slightly more powerful tool
for sure.
But it just depends on where you're sourcing your leads. If you have like an online lead source that you're either paying for or referring out for, then they're going to come in fast and furious, and you're gonna need it.
That's true.
Right. Yeah. So switching careers, and I mean, people do this a lot. People change careers all the time. But what would you say to anyone switching from something to come into real estate sales, a full-time salesperson? What advice would you give someone who's looking to get into real estate?
It's a great question. I mean, I think I have, a lot that I would say. I think the first and foremost is like, why are you getting into real estate? If it's because you watched some shows on Netflix or Bravo or whatever and like think it looks glamorous, like really look into that a little bit more, because it's definitely not. Try
getting out of your sweats at 7 p.m. and going to Brightwood.
Okay? Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Or like literally being like in Jamaica, and I think I got a lead from Brent, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna call you, right? Like I'm gonna call the guy. And so it's like
been there,
and it's always gonna be it's definitely more difficult than it seems. So I think that's like obviously the first thing is just really talk to people, know what you're getting yourself into, and then I mean that's my next point though, is always like say yes to everything. So be it like if it's you're going to for the first year, 2 years, probably even 3 years, like really your time is not always your own. You kind of just should be saying yes to almost everything you can. If you're not, then you're really not going to be successful. So I think that's something. And then also like just networking, not only among your sphere, going to get drinks with people or coffee, but also among other agents. I mean, I'm typically in the office every day for at least 3 or 4 hours, and it's just a great way to get to know other agents. And actually, a source for a lot of my business has been referrals from other agents that they're like, hey, I just don't have time for this right now, or not in a bad way, but they're busier with higher volume listings or buyers or whatever, and so it's like, hey, can you take on this first time home buyer that's looking for a condo? And I'm like, perfect, I would love to. So it's stuff like that that I think is just really important. You have to hustle your first few years, and if you don't have that, then you're not going to be successful.
That's well said.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, not to the breaking point, of course, but
sure. Well,
I mean, maybe it depends on who you are. But,
yes,
but you're right. You have to definitely be willing to take on challenging things, things that are, it sounds like you got a great lead and a great sale, but I know that a lot of the other sales are not like huge money sales, right. And so that's just how you build that. Mm-hmm. That's how you build the sphere. That's how you build the referral base, and you really never know who you're meeting. Yeah. Like whether it's the renter with the wealthy father,
right?
They're all out here.
Sure.
And it's a big city, so that's really good stuff.
So you're planning pretty good, right? So you did $3 million. Your goal was $5 million for the first year. You did $3 million.
Yeah.
$6 million for this year. You're already at $5 million. So you've bumped up your goal. Do you have a short term, like the next 2 years, and then a long term plan, like 5 years out in real estate?
I think overall goal of just to sell more houses, be more successful, still be here in 5 years. Yeah. Not to burn myself out completely, but I mean, I do think obviously as I'm in the industry more, I would like to get my, the average sales price up a little bit. It is nicer to be able to work on less deals, but, kind of hone that to a certain, dollar value for each deal. Also, definitely to be more, more of the go-to for my neighborhood. I mean, I'm living in Bloomingdale, planning to stay around there. So I would love to, kind of be the go-to for Bloomingdale, Eckington, LaDroit, all of that.
So here's something, I'm glad it's actually on our sheet because I was thinking about it and I hadn't read all the way down on our sheet. But as a newer agent, you came into the market in a bull rush kind of market, right. Very aggressive market, super low interest rates. The rates right now, the 30-year rate is about double what it was probably when you started. Yeah, which is literally crazy to think about. It's been like a year.
Right.
So how are you either thinking about or preparing for the potential for a market like evening out or a downturn? Have you how do you advise people on this when they ask you this? Can you give us any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think with us being in DC, even if there's kind of the crash in a sense, or maybe not crash, but just kind of the
is so
right. It's
like, what are we, CNBC?
Right. Yeah. So maybe a slowdown in the market. Right. I do think we will always see people needing to buy or come into DC or sell their homes because they're moving to another city. So I think obviously we're in a good part there. I think as far as for buyers that are a little concerned about the interest rates, it's still like, okay, well, but now we're not having to deal with as many of these multiple offer situations because some people have gotten fatigue. So it's a little bit better for you at this point that maybe you can find a deal out there, something that's been sitting on the market longer because they maybe priced it too high. So, there's definitely, I'm telling my buyers, don't be scared by the fact that interest rates are going up, and let's lock you in today and let's get you a home today because they're only going to continue to go up a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so we're at 5.5 today.
Right.
Do you want 5.5 today or 6 in
tomorrow.
A week or two?
Yeah.
Right. So make up your mind.
Right.
There's a lot of publications out there, and it's like it doesn't matter what you read. One's saying the market's going to crash. The other one's saying real estate's the place to be if the market does correct. Yeah. So it's like publications are all over the map. Do you have a go-to that you're reading on a consistent basis that you're then parlaying this information to your client base?
I mean, I love obviously the local Urban Turf. I think they do great stuff. And then I do, mostly subscribe to like Wall Street Journal and New York Times. I would say those are my sources the most for real estate.
Yes. I usually take an article a day, whether I get it from someone else or something I've just found in Wall Street Journal, the Post, New York Times. I'll read through it, give a synopsis, and then I send it to the client with the article link. I don't know if there's like a what is that? Copyright infringement or whatnot.
As long as you source it,
right?
It's fine, right?
So, being thrust into a new business like this and saying yes to a lot of things. Here's one of my least favorite terms, but it always comes up. How do you manage your work and life balance with all of this new stuff coming your way?
I don't know that I do. So I guess that's maybe the goal is to manage that better. I mean, I think definitely, like, as I've talked with my husband for, kind of these first few years, it primarily my focus is work. And if that's not the focus, then I need to find a new job. But because this is just the industry that we're in, I mean, I definitely schedule my day. I think I've learned that the mornings are a little bit slower than the evening times. Clients are more available after 5 o'clock. So definitely, like, instead of where I used to maybe like go to the gym at night or, plan, my own personal things in the evening, that's now more kind of in the morning hours. So that's definitely a little bit how I've balanced. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely still trying to figure that out. So if you guys have any tips, let me know.
If you have some tips, let me know, because I'm still trying to figure that out.
Well, I like how Brent just has I have a heart out for a kid thing that he has to do. And, I have plenty of kid things that I should be doing, but it's like like you said, like in the afternoons, it just becomes like a total shit show sometimes. Right. It's like one thing after another keeps piling up. So if you had something planned that you wanted to do, it's pretty much like, it ain't happening. And
I do think that that's where I need to get better with, like, if I have even something, if that's not work related, but if I have that planned for 4 or 5 o'clock, I have an appointment. The client's not going to know that it's a haircut or whatever, or a dentist appointment. Yeah. So I do need to get a little bit better with that. I think it was Mattia that one time gave me the note of just like, tell them that like you're busy the first time that they reach out, just so that they think, like, the clients think that you're like a little bit busier than you are, to create some, sense of urgency for them too. But I try to be as available as I can. And so that definitely has, at times added to stress over the past year or so.
For sure.
Listen to even some of the guests we've had up here, and I practice this myself, but it's, if someone calls you, it could be a cold lead or warm lead, and it's like, let's meet to discuss. Like, you be the driver and say, I can give you, this, tomorrow at 10, or if that doesn't work, I can do Friday at 10. Yeah. But you drive the ship on your calendar versus like, hey, I'm free anytime this week. Because for me, anytime I've ever done that, it's very seldom. They always pick a time that doesn't work for me.
That's always. So true. And I do think that's something that I've gotten better at now, just learning the hard way, that like they're probably always going to pick the most opportune time for them. Right. Especially with doing a lot of rental listings or working with rental clients that are looking for a place to live. It's like, no, I only have these times, because people will take advantage of your downtime.
Well, the firm does a great job. I don't practice it myself, but like the ninja selling, it's all about life-work balance, and it teaches you how to, balance between work and life. And as you mentioned, Max, sometimes I'll have a hard out going to a tennis event at 3 o'clock, but like when I'm there physically, but not mentally, because I'm on the phone, or I can DocuSign or write up a contract, and it's like, I'll miss the whole tennis tournament. Or we had a event this past Friday, like I was there, but I'm in the middle of like DocuSigning a contract. I'm trying to win an auction behind me. It's like, my mind is like halfway there and halfway out the door. But you're doing ninja selling?
I am. I'm doing it at the end of the month, or early June, however, the week works out. So, very excited to do that. I think it'll be, just a great way to learn some new tips and help to develop my business more. Yeah.
Because you have a year under your belt. Yeah. So then going into, you'll have a little bit better understanding of, oh, okay, so I really need to, cut this out or do more of this.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like ninja selling, I think is fantastic. But I will say they give you a lot of options for things to do. I think if you did everything in the ninja selling like repertoire, you then would not have a life. It would be all ninja activities.
Yes.
Which could be fine. I don't know. It
just a complete ninja.
Yeah, you're like 100% ninja all the time.
And next year we'll interview as your junior year in real estate, and you'll be like, I just closed $250 million, all because of ninja.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, she adopts all the practices. Yeah.
Podcast now sponsored by Ninja.
Right.
So.
Well, they're
TikTok.
great. It's great.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite real estate books is Ninja Selling. So I recommend that to anyone who's ever even thinking about real estate.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
It's really good.
I guess my last question is really, so you seem to like working in real estate. Are you enjoying working in real estate?
I am. No, definitely. I mean, as much as there is a lot of stress and anxieties that we've talked about that come with it, it's been a great career shift. I don't know that I would have ever really done it had it not been for, the pandemic, but it's a great career path, and I think there's just so much that I can continue to do with it, and so much room to grow in this industry, in this market that we're in, and potentially expand to other states, or however I would like to do that in the future.
Yeah.
So I have two follow-up questions. On the last episode, you mentioned you were thinking about buying your place in Bloomingdale, and your husband Max, not Max Raven for the first-time listener,
Max Snider,
right?
Is,
lots of Maxes.
Yeah. Was just starting his business. So can you tell us if you bought your first place and then how Max's business is coming along?
So I did not buy my first place yet. Still, in the market for that. Our building that we were potentially going to buy, it's the apartment building that I live in currently. It's a 4-unit converted row home. They had given the TOPA rights, and we had put in an offer, but they did not accept the offer. So they actually ended up rescinding the TOPA rights. Am I saying
so
this correct?
They did not sell it.
They did not sell the building, so it's still just a full rental building. So yeah, I mean, I think actually overall that was good for us not to do. But we are.
Well, hold on, just so for listeners who are just randomly tuning in, who are not DC Realtors, TOPA. So you live in a building, you live in a 4-unit building,
right?
And it's all tenanted,
correct?
And the sellers feigned interest in, or the owners feigned interest in selling it,
correct?
So because it's a 4-unit building, they had to offer you a first right of refusal situation,
correct?
That's
yes.
Right.
So we put in an offer, and they were like, thanks for this, but we're going to continue to pitch it out there.
Right.
I just think they put it on the market for like $2.5 million, and which is
a big number,
pretty high for Bloomingdale.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they bought it in 2015 for a really big number. I think they bought it for 2.4.
Whoa,
so
okay,
wow. It was they were definitely.
Was it brand new renovated at the time?
It had been renovated at the time, so they didn't have to do anything to it. It was a wealthy doctor who just had a bunch of cash, seemed like, and was putting it in that. So they really didn't have to sell. I think they were just kind of market's hot right now, seeing what they could get.
Right.
So that's why our offer was closer to like $2 million, and they didn't take that, didn't want to negotiate. So just
curious. I mean, if you know the answer to this. At 2.5, based on what you're paying and the other 3, is the cap rate even good over there? It sounds like it's a high note.
Yeah. So it was definitely too high. So I think that's why no one wanted to buy it. So
wow.
Yeah. But so yeah, we are currently kind of still, we like the place that we're in, so it's not a rush for us to move out. But I think what we'd love to do is kind of buy a shell at some point and make it our own.
Value add.
Yep.
How's Max's business?
It's good. So he, as of May 1st, actually, he left Capital Bank, so he's no longer lending, but he is doing full-time development. So he's now working for a company called 10 Square, doing their basically, acquisitions of property, getting investors as well. So.
Good.
We're only like 17 days in, so
Very good.
But it's good. It's really good so far. They have a building under contract right now across the river. But.
Okay. Well, Leslie, thanks for coming back out.
Thanks for having me again.
This is like I said, it's really great to have a repeat guest and like a follow-up like this. I love this. And things are going great. So
thank you.
You're doing great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It means a lot coming from both of you.
Out.
So appreciate that.
This time we have rapid fire questions. We didn't have that on the first.
You didn't have rapid fire?
I don't think we did.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right.
No, because I was listening to the episode.
Okay.
And it was on there. I was like, oh, what's her favorite cheese or whatever it is, right? So.
Well, we can find that out right now.
Yeah.
All right. Here's rapid fire.
All right. Who would play you in a movie?
Oh, I mean, I get all the time that I look like Lindsay Lohan from Parent Trap, so I might have to put that in.
that was just on at my house the other night. The girls they exist for Parent Trap.
I love that. That's still the movie of choice. So that's awesome.
I need to check that out.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Last concert you went to?
Oh wow. It was obviously that was like 3 years ago or 2 years ago now. We went to Hosier at the Anthem.
I know that.
I don't know how to say it.
It's not Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I've heard of that.
I think it's
I don't know. I'm not going to try to pronounce it either.
Yeah.
It's okay. Fine.
Favorite drink?
Favorite what?
Favorite drink.
Oh, if we're talking non-alcoholic, I love LaCroix, the grapefruit, but alcoholic drink would be just like vodka soda.
Vodka soda.
Yeah.
Favorite restaurant in DC?
Have to shout out the Red Hen in Bloomingdale.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Any predictions for the rest of 22? As far as like the market. In general?
Yes. I think, I do think it will become a little more of a buyer's market in some senses, with it being less of this, competitive as rates kind of correct themselves. And also people will continue to go back to we'll focus more on condos again rather than, needing additional space as we kind of get out of the pandemic.
Great stuff. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you.
And a solid component of what we do out here is reaching back to the community. And I don't know if you've started doing charitable stuff or working with the community, but do you have a charity that you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, actually, excellent timing. So I've been working with Girls on the Run in Washington, D.C. Okay. So I coach a team at Aiden Montessori School. Our 5K is Sunday, but today, in fact, is their annual giving day. So
there you go. Perfect.
If that goes to them.
Girls on the Run.
Girls on the Run.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
To follow Leslie's story from the beginning, tune in to our first episode interviewing her, published on August 23, 2021. Find the episode on our first season of the Keyed In podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you like to listen.
Thanks for listening to Keyed In with your hosts, Max and Brent, unlocking the minds of the industry's top real estate professionals. For more information on selling your home, find us online at KeyedInPodcast.com. Remember to subscribe to Keyed In on Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Keyed In Podcast, at Rabin Max, and at Brent E. Jackson. And follow Max on TikTok at MaxwellRabin_properties.